I'm flying solo in the Reality Redemption Studios this week. We got Snow out on assignment. I don't know what I did last week. I need to fire my engineer, even though I'm the engineer, because I could not get the sound right in front of a big crowd. This week, it's just me, and the sound's fucking perfect. Maybe it's just my head. But we've got some breaking news. So, live from the border, and covering the border crisis, that it's a stampede of people entering illegally, if I could get my words right, streaming over the border because the borders are wide open. So, we sent Snow down to the border to see for herself what this crisis looks like. And Snow, welcome. So, give us a report from the border.
That's right, MJ. I'm on Border Report. So I have visited 3 border towns. We actually have 5 in the state of Arizona. The 3 that I visited this time are Nogales, Naco, and Douglas.
So what you mean? What you mean by what you mean by 5?
Previously been to Sonoyta. Sonoyta is the one that you go through to go to Rocky Point. So I did not go there this time because I did not go that far west in our state. I am doing a southeastern tour.
Okay, what do you mean by 5 border towns? There's 5. Okay. There's 5 points of entry in Arizona.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Correct. That's what I mean. So I was like, okay, there's. Let's start all the way over at the west end of the state. There is,
by Yuma.
In the city of Yuma, you can cross the border into San Luis. Okay, that is the only one that I haven't been to. I'm planning on doing that one either later this year or beginning of next year, because you really don't want to be in Yuma in the summer. It's really fucking hot down there. I mean, like, hotter than where we live.
Yeah, like Havasu.
Right. Okay, and then Sonoyta is the one that you take to go to Rocky Point, which I was there. When was I there? Just like last year. Yeah, I went on a girls' trip with my mom, my sister, and my aunt. Which, so I've already been there, and I can tell you that the border point there is pretty much what I saw on this trip. And then you're moving along further east. So then the next one is Nogales. It's Nogales on the Arizona side, and it is Nogales on the Mexico side. Then you move a little further down, you get to Naco. It's Naco on the Arizona side and Naco on the Mexico side.
Not Nacho?
Not Nacho. There's no H in there. Okay. Naco. So then you move on down to Douglas. It's Douglas on the Arizona side, and it's Agua Prieta on the Mexico side.
All right. So tell us about the hundreds upon hundreds of illegals that you ran into crossing these wide open borders.
There was 0.
Wait, 0?
There was 0. I didn't see any. I didn't see any. What our Republicans like to refer at. What are they referring to them now as? Illegals or aliens or something like that?
Wide open borders, illegals pouring over.
No wide open borders. Matter of fact, so if you're driving.
Wait, so you're saying 0. 0.
So
as in none.
If you're driving around the southern part of our state, and you're going like through the town, you can especially witness this in the part that's like from Bisbee to Douglas, because you basically drive eastbound and you're almost right at our border driving along. So if you look off to your right, you will see like what looks to be a double or triple decker like railroad. If you look out that way, it'll almost look like a railroad with minus like the fact that you know how you can like see through the railroad cars, kind of like the spaces between them. It doesn't look like that. It looks like one huge brown, like from the distance, it's like a dark brown color. When you get up closer to it, it's like rust in color, right? Because it's made out of metal and I've done my research to find out what kind of metal that is too. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Well, okay, and it's the same thing if you're driving from San Diego to Yuma for a long stretch. You're driving right along, and you do see the wall, probably a quarter to a half mile away from the road.
Yes, it is just like that. If you need that to base it off of, because I'm going on trying to describe it here. If any of our friends feel like coming down and checking it out for themselves, of course, they're not going to like when they almost get to the border, they will see signs that say, I'm talking about our friends on the right side of the aisle, they're going to see signs that say it is illegal to bring firearms and ammunition into the country of Mexico. That's probably where most of them will turn around.
Right. Well, they say it's illegal, but how do you think all the guns get to the cartels?
Well, they're smuggled in there.
Well, they're smuggled from this side to that side, unlike the contrary opinion that it's coming the other way.
Correct, but they tell you that they've got the warning signs up there in case you get searched. There's no surprise in why you're going to fucking jail if you try to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so look, we're kidding around a little bit here. Okay, a little bit. We're not saying that there isn't a problem with the border and the immigration system needs to be fixed. It does. It needs to be overhauled. But why doesn't it get overhauled? Because it's a political point that no one really wants to solve. Because for the most part, the left kind of wants to keep it, keep people coming here because they will tend to vote for the left. It just happened. It's just what it is. Not saying there aren't people, that will go to the right. I don't quite understand why, but it does happen. Now the right does not really want to fix it because it becomes this boogeyman issue that they can keep running on, like how they say the borders are wide open when the borders aren't wide open. Biden didn't change anything about border policy that wasn't already in place during the Trump administration, except for the part where they stopped people coming across the border due to COVID, and that expired. Now, Republicans wanted to keep that going, even though they thought COVID was a hoax. They didn't believe it. They didn't believe any part of it except to keep people out of the country. And that's when they got behind it. Now, that is the only thing I believe that Biden really changed. And he kept that going as long as he wanted to be truthful, until it was decided. It was extended several times, and until the courts actually ruled that it had to end. That if you want the truth, and you can research all this yourself, that is what really happened. Now, are there people flooding here? Maybe over certain border crossings somewhere else. Maybe. I remember Comedy Central doing a piece where they went to where they...
Yeah, that's what I wanted to...
That's
what I wanted to make clear. Wanted to make clear that the 3 crossings that I visited, that I went all the way up to the border, okay, there is nothing going on. There is no river of people flowing over it like they lead you to believe on the media. Now, however, yes, disclaimer, I have not been to every single point of entry, so I don't know. Okay, because I told my dad all this information on the 3 that I visited and the one that I visited previously, that there is not the shit happening that people think is happening. And he told me, well, our biggest problem is in the Yuma one. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll be visiting that one either later this year after summer or early next year when it's a bit cooler. I will go there because I'm going to go there for my own sanity. Because I'm like, I don't believe what's going on. And anytime you talk to any of the locals and you say, yeah, I flat out told him, I'm like, yeah, I came here specifically to go visit the border towns also and confirm what I always thought the media was lying about. I wanted to come here and see for myself. So I can safely say that in the towns of Nogales, Naco, and Douglas, there is not an influx of millions of people coming over. Millions, thousands, whatever the fucking number is that they try to say. It's not happening. I didn't even see one.
Well, there are times when there'll be surges. You know, let's not kid ourselves. I've seen the footage, but I know that town that they made a big deal of in Texas, that Comedy Central went down and did a piece on it, and the residents of that town said the problem, like people couldn't get around town because it's being overrun. But the problem was it was being overrun by media. Like the media went down and they were buying up all the hotels and stuff like that. They would go out to eat. They'd make long lines at the residents. The residents couldn't get into the local restaurants to eat. And that's what the residents were complaining about.
Okay.
So,
like, I'm just saying. Okay, and one of the border stops, Naco, outside of Naco, in between Naco and Bisbee, right? There is a huge complex of the Border Patrol facility, right?
Yeah.
With all the Border Patrol vehicles, the white and green trucks that you see. Have you ever seen one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. So those, remember when Kingman Airport had all the DHL planes there?
Yeah.
And it looked like a graveyard of DHL airplanes?
Yeah.
Do you remember that at all?
Yep. No. Vividly.
Okay. So when I drove past that complex, that on the outside it has a sign that says, you know, U.S. Border Protection Services or whatever the heck it is, right? And you see all those white and green. You can see about the equivalent of the aircraft of white and green vehicles parked in there, just parked. Like, what are they doing? If our border is so fucked up, why do they have so many of those trucks grounded with no Border Patrol officers in them? They're just sitting there. They're sitting there parked. I mean, we're talking hundreds of fucking trucks.
Well, the argument would probably be like Biden ordered them parked. I'm not saying that's the reason. But
really? The argument would be
I don't know the argument to be truthful.
No, wait. Okay, but let's get this straight. Fine. You be devil's advocate then. The argument would be that, then why didn't the Republicans pass the goddamn fucking bill to get more employees in those trucks to go out and patrol the borders like they always claim is their dream and what they want? Why don't they?
Mr. Carter. I know the answer, Mr. Carter. I know the answer. The answer was Trump told them not to pass it because he wanted to be able to use it as an issue on the campaign trail.
It's like, my thing is though, so we spent all the money in previous administrations to get all those vehicles that are just sitting there. And then one of the times when I'm driving towards Naco, I go ahead and look at the Border Patrol vehicle that they had strategically parked there. Guess what? No one was in it. No one. You know how they'll like park cop cars and they'll park them with the thing out there that tells you your speed?
Yeah.
with no officer in it. It's just parked there. There were several of those. Just trucks fucking parked there.
Well, maybe the river of immigrants kidnapped all the Border Patrol officers.
Okay. We don't need to go into conspiracies. The right does a good enough job at that, okay?
Right. Okay.
So about Nogales, like one point I did really want to make out that I thought was really cool. So in Nogales, like right outside of Nogales is a town called Rio Rico. It's like, it would be closer to Tucson direction, right? That town is full of nothing but produce warehouses or fruits and vegetables. I mean, I should have, I was driving at the time, but I'm like, I should stick my phone up and just set it to record as I drive past. There was at least 20, probably more, of just food warehouse after produce warehouse after produce warehouse. And let me tell you, it was a real mind fuck to try to get to the town of Patagonia that I happened to be staying in, because you had to get off on that exit. But there's also a way where you could get off on the next exit that was like actually the Nogales exit, which is what I did the second day after I went back to go visit a different town. Like, when I came back, I'm like, nope, not even getting up. You should have seen the traffic jam of, like, all our fruits and vegetables coming into the United States that are brought in there from Mexico so that we can eat, you know?
So what you're saying is we depend on, I don't want to say an open border, but we depend on a border with a relationship with Mexico. So we cannot close off the border. We cannot
yes, we depend on it. I mean,
so we cannot shut down the border.
Look, maybe most people don't think we do if they're used to eating fucking food that comes out of boxes and shit and wrappers. Then maybe they don't. But I like my fruits and vegetables. Okay.
Yeah.
I
don't think there's any ingredients in Oreos. You know what I mean? That coming from Mexico.
Yeah, there's no nutritional value in those.
All right.
They're delicious, but no nutritional value.
Maybe there's some drugs from China in there, but, you know, other than that, no, I don't think there's anything from Mexico. And look, we're not downplaying the issues on the border. I just think, do you notice it kind of, like a few weeks ago, it was a huge crisis, but since the whole, you know, Palestinian protest thing was going on, you notice how the border crisis just kind of disappeared?
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's because we got to, like, you know, bag on the student protesters.
Yeah.
Instead.
And while we're on that, we'll do a longer one another time about that whole thing. But what they don't talk about on the media is during those student protests, about 75 to 80% of the people that were arrested at these protests were not actually students. They were outside agitators. I'm not saying you don't have a couple wacko students that say death to Israel or death to America. It probably happens. But for the most part, a different
one though. I mean, because let's just stick to the topic of this. I mean, that we're going to go down a whole new rabbit hole if we even try to talk about that right now. I want to do shout out to Naco. I went to a really kick-ass bar. I had to go to it. It was called the Gay 90s Bar.
That's the actual name of it.
Yeah. Remember I sent you the picture of it?
I know. I was just playing into it.
Yeah.
I do have the picture. We'll post it on our social media.
I met one of the coolest bartenders ever of all time. Like, she was so awesome. Then there was this guy in there too, this customer that he was hilarious because he's sitting there telling me about how he met Johnny Cash when he was working in Wyoming. We're talking like back in I think he said in the 60s or 70s. He's like, yeah, Johnny Cash said to me, do you know who I am?
Yeah, Johnny motherfucking Cash.
And he goes, no, and the guy
wonder if that hurt Johnny Cash's ego at all.
I don't know. I should have asked him that. I should have said, I wonder if he got his feelings hurt,
I would have been like, you're Johnny motherfucking Cash. Of course I know who you are.
Right? Yeah. I don't think the guy knew who he was, though, at the time.
Okay.
Like, I think he was, he was 80 years old. He's in his 80s, this guy that I was talking to.
So what you're saying is, since there was no crisis at the border, you had to go find other fun things to do.
Yes, I know. And here's the thing, too. So here's a fun fact, too. When I stayed in Patagonia, I even took one of the back roads to, like, an old ghost town called Harshaw. And there were, because you know how, like, some people will probably use the excuse, well, they're not coming in the border points. They're going, like, off the beaten path.
Right.
I can tell you that, yes, there were signs up. There was a sign up that I passed going in to visit this ghost town that said, beware of, like, smuggling, Like, it had a sign up about smuggling and shit. But guess what? I saw no smuggling activity there. I saw nobody trying to cross, like, off the beaten path. Okay, and we're talking like the middle of the desert down there. There's nothing in there. There's like one building left that is considered Harshaw, and it's like dilapidated, like it's half a building. I'll send you the picture of that too. Remember?
Now, are there signs like when you drive by like a big prison, they say do not stop and pick up any passengers? Are there signs like that?
No, there's no signs like that. There's none of those. I know what you're talking about. No, there's none that tell you not to pick people up.
Okay, so you stayed in Patagonia at first, and then you made your way to Tombstone, correct? After that?
After Patagonia, I went to Tombstone. That was the only... Okay, so I should mention, too, all the way on my way to Patagonia, like, Patagonia, I saw, like, the only political sign I saw, and I only saw one of them, was I saw a Biden-Harris sign, and I saw a Ruben Gallego sign.
Really?
Just one, but yeah, that's what I saw. I saw 0 Trump signs.
You mean it's not like around here where they're everywhere?
Right. I didn't see any Trump signs until I actually went to Tombstone. And then you did have, like, Tombstone's kind of like a mini Kingman, which, I mean, makes sense. They have, so in Tombstone...
Or kind of, maybe like a bigger Oatman?
Yeah.
Without the donkeys?
They don't have as many Confederate flags. Like, in Oatman, like, every flag there is like a Confederate flag now. So I won't dog on Tombstone that much. On Tombstone, I saw one Confederate flag flying along. The Confederate flag was on top, and then the Make America Great flag was right underneath it. And then also in Tombstone, they have a whole Trump store. It's got Donald Trump, like, imposed on the face of a cowboy. I did not go into the store, but I saw it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you know where to go get all your Chinese Trump memorabilia if you're in Tombstone then.
I know. I should have probably went in there and took pictures of all the labels, they all said made in China. Yeah. I should have done that.
And so then from there, he went to Bisbee. Did you go stalk Doug Stanhope?
Did I what?
Did you go stalk Doug Stanhope?
No, I drove by his house, though, and it looks like it's, like, under repair. For the most part, most of it looks good. And when I drove by, that's why I sent you that picture. I'm like, usually they don't have one of the gates open, but I think they had one of his gates open so that the workers could be in there, like, working. It looked like they were repairing stuff because it looked like a bunch of wood was torn down, and then they were in there, like, putting up new wood.
Well, he had like a small fire there not too long ago.
Right. Yeah, and it looked like something was being worked on at the time. Because like I said, usually if you drive past his house, anytime I have before, like all the gates along the house are closed. And he has like those big metal gates that you can't see through. You can only see like the top parts of his house, which his house is really cool. It kind of looks like a fun house. Like, it kind of looks like they're not totally even shapes. Like, they're kind of slanted, and then there are like a bunch of different fun colors going on in there.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a break really quick. No, I got to do something. Okay, and then we'll hop right back on. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So 1 second here. Where did you stay in Bisbee?
At the Block Hotel.
What is the Block Hotel? I've never heard of it.
It is a new boutique hotel. It's only got like 5 rooms, and it is. It used to be the old jail long ago, back in the day. They remodeled it. It's so cute.
The old jail?
I'm going to stay there next time I go to Bisbee.
Did it look like a jail at all?
Oh, no, it didn't. They've totally redone it and made it look, really cute, like boutique hotel looking.
So they gutted it, right?
Oh, yeah, they gutted I don't know how much of it is actually original, because she was telling me, I think just the outside of the building, and then, obviously they're not going to be able to tear down all the walls because they're load-bearing walls, but they're even they're in the process right now of redoing the room that's on the first floor. I guess it used to be like a small restaurant kitchen, but they're turning that into another room, like a bigger room, and it's going to be like handicap accessible, because there's no like elevator in it. It's only 2 floors, and there's stairs, and so obviously somebody, if they were in a wheelchair, they would not be able to stay at the hotel, not until this new room is done, because I guess there's not a whole lot of hotels that are ADA accessible. So they felt like it was time to at least make one room that was, in case people needed to stay.
Yeah, and you were telling me, off this, that it kind of reminded you of the Padre in Bakersfield.
Yeah, it's a lot like that. It's a lot like that hotel.
Yeah. And the Padre in Bakersfield, I think we've told them the story before, but it's this hotel that I think it was back in the 1920s that there was a fire on like the 5th floor or something, third or 4th floor. I forget which floor. But they were saying, like, if you walk by a certain room, the temperature would change, like it would get cooler. And in the hotel lobby, there was this area that was, I don't know how to describe it, more like a bar type of area, but it wasn't a bar. But there was this little girl's handprint in the stain on this bar.
Yeah.
And they said no matter what they did, they could not get that handprint to go away. And they led to believe that this hotel was haunted. So we were there one night, and we had gone there to see Jim Jefferies. And we were hoping to meet Jim after the show, because he usually does meet and greets, and he didn't. So we were bar hopping around Bakersfield. And downtown Bakersfield, that little, like, couple block area, we found some cool little bars right there.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool bars and a lot of cool people in the downtown area of Bakersfield.
Yeah.
I really had a good time.
But then when I came back to time to go, we were hungry. And we remembered that the pub food at the bar of the hotel looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we were both feeling pretty good at that point. And we were sitting at the bar waiting for our food, and we hear an Australian voice behind us. And we looked at each other and go, that sounds like Jim Jefferies. And we both turn around, and like 2 tables behind us, there's Jim Jefferies drinking with the opening comedian and his manager. So we walked up, and I think we asked if we could buy him a beer. And he said, sure. So we ended up hanging out with him for another hour or so, I think. And it was just a really fun time with him. But I remember he was really drunk, and his manager was dead set against letting Jim go up to the haunted floor with us. So there's a fun little off-road story there about Jim Jefferies. But good times. I'll post that on our socials. It's now the Reality Redemption podcast on Facebook, or Reality Redemption on Instagram is where you can find us. Since we got off Twitter because of, Twitter. X. So what did you do? What did you do with yourself in the hotel, though?
Okay, so on my downtime, I decided to research more about the border wall, like the history of it, I wanted to know more about, like, when it was started and, blah, blah, blah. So I found this great article in Time magazine, which I'm hoping that I believe that Time is a credible source. I'm not sure if our friends on the other side of the aisle categorize them as fake news, but
well, no, because
don't they really hate all news that isn't Fox, Newsmax, Breitbart, Drudge, or InfoWars? I
have to stop you there, though. They do like Time magazine this week because they had Trump on the cover, and the headline on the cover is "If I Won" or "If I Win." So
okay,
they did an interview. Perfect.
Then this bit of information is for them. Okay. All right, good job. Good deal to know. Okay, so our border wall actually began under guess which president started the wall?
Okay, I'm gonna guess.
Okay. Wait.
I guess if you give me a time.
Hey, stop! I'm gonna give you a clue. I did want to preface before you answered this question.
Oh, let me just guess. Let me guess.
The border. No, just hold on a second. The border wall is bipartisan. By nature, it's bipartisan. So go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna say a wild guess. Jimmy Carter.
No, it was way before that.
Okay, way before Jimmy Carter.
But there is a little bit of information on the Carter administration and the border wall. A little bit later.
John Kennedy.
Get to that later. Before that.
Oh my God. Eisenhower.
Before that.
Oh my God. Roosevelt.
There you go. Yes. But to clarify, it would be FDR, not Roosevelt.
All right.
Okay. So under FDR and Harry S. Truman, they went ahead with the border wall. It was mainly to stop the animals, right? Then it shifted more to people in the 50s and the 60s. Okay? And then, so, and in this, when it shifted to people, both Mexico and the United States kind of embraced, having the wall, but also having an agreement to fill labor gaps due to World War II. So we needed workers pretty much.
So what you're saying is after the industrial revolution is the wrong word of World War II, because we employed a lot of people, a lot of women and such, to build tanks and jeeps and stuff like that. When the war, those items were no longer needed, they switched the focus to building the wall.
Well, the Industrial Revolution, I thought that was during World War One. I thought that's what World War One was about.
I'm more talking about how the manufacturing jobs after the war had started to ease up and how they probably changed focus to something else in these,
They needed,
metal
needed
manufacturing companies. I guess.
They needed workers because of what happened during World War II, they had an agreement that Mexican migration would be allowed to come here to fill working that we needed.
Oh, okay.
Mexico wasn't really involved in World War II, so they weren't losing tons of soldiers.
Oh, okay. I get you're sort of doing it's the opposite of what I was thinking. Like they were trying to fill jobs because they were no longer needed to build tanks. So let's build a wall. So it's more like we need workers. So then Mexican immigration happened to fill these positions. Okay, I get it. Okay.
And then, so under pressure to control the flow of people, the Roosevelt administration began planning fence construction in urban areas to divert traffic to more isolated areas. Like, remember when I was telling you earlier, I even went to the isolated areas to see if I could see any crossings happening, and I didn't see that either. Okay? All right.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just kind of interested because this is stuff that we didn't learn in school.
Oh, right, yeah. Then they don't really talk about anything under the Eisenhower administration or the Kennedy administration. So then it kind of jumps around to LBJ's administration, and he signed the Immigration and Nationality Act, which for the first time placed a cap on the number of people who could immigrate to the U.S. from the Western Hemisphere countries like Mexico. So that kind of made a greater attention to the border.
Okay,
and that was back in the 60s.
So a Democrat did that.
Right.
Okay.
So, it's kind of surprising when you read this article how much of, border security actually happened under the left. That it's really not what you would think. So then, here we go. We will get to a Republican now. Okay? So, when... In 1969, under Richard Nixon, launched Operation Intercept, and he tried to close the border for weeks to stop the movement of illicit drugs.
And that's when he hired Elvis?
When he hired what?
Elvis?
Elvis?
Remember he made Elvis a marshal or something like that? To combat
drugs? I do remember something like that from some kind of a movie, right?
Yeah, I think it was in the Elvis movie.
Yeah, and then so here's kind of a cool thing that his wife did. So it said 2 years later, First Lady Pat Nixon established Friendship Park along the border near San Diego, where people could celebrate cross-border culture. Okay, so she built this great park that people from both sides,
So this park, if you're from Mexico or you're from the United States, you could just hang out in this park?
I guess it was kind of like a unity park kind of thing,
Okay. Well, I mean, that nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so then we advance to another Democrat, Jimmy Carter. So He replaced the fence that Nixon. So Nixon had cut the fence because of he didn't want to have too much fence because of what his wife had created, right? The friendship thing. So
wait. So Richard Nixon tore down the border security?
Okay.
The fence?
Here we go.
Okay.
Nixon requested that security detail cut strands of barbed wire so that they could greet Mexicans across the borderline. And he said, famously, "I hope there won't be a fence too long here." So, and they had never built significant barriers under the Nixon administration, right? Okay, so since he had cut that, then we fast forward to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter replaced the fence that Nixon had cut with a bigger, stronger fence in 1979. Okay. And so it says a year before it went up, its design stirred controversy when the contractor stated it would sever the toes of anyone who dared to breach it.
Yikes.
Yeah, right? You get your fucking toes cut off.
And is this more like what we see now, which is about a 16-foot wall that goes up in many sections of the border?
I don't think so. I don't think that's the one we have now, because that doesn't, the thing we have now is it looks like it's made out of huge iron. We're not talking razor wire. There's no razor wire on it. It's like a huge metal, welded monstrosity. It's.
But that's been up there for years and years, hasn't it? That's nothing new.
Yeah, I think maybe it gets to a later administration where it talks more about, the stronger border wall.
No, because my only point there is, that structure was there long before Trump was in office.
Years before, decades before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't get credit for what's there now.
Yeah. That was my point.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then in 1985, we get into the Reagan administration. So Reagan closed the border for a few weeks. Okay, repeating Operation Intercept. Remember when he tried to, we definitely remember that. Tried to say that drugs were getting into our country and whatnot.
Well, and that was because his wife had that whole "Just Say No" program.
Just say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which no offense. I'm not ragging on, the first lady from that time. She did a lot of good work with, teaching kids about drugs during that time. Okay, so
right.
Give Nancy kudos there.
Right, and so famously in a 1980s debate with future President George H.W. Bush, Reagan had said, "Rather than talking about putting up a fence, why don't we work out some recognition of our mutual problems, making it possible for them to come here legally with a work permit, and then while they're working and earning here, they pay taxes here." And that's from Ronald Reagan. Reagan said that.
Which is what they do now, unless the companies hire them under the table.
Right, and which is what people are so upset that people who claim to be the party of Reagan, it's have you guys read this?
Well,
because Reagan was actually for immigration.
Yeah, and I mean, legal immigration. Um, okay. So then what happens after Reagan?
Well, so Reagan, that was in his debate when he was debating to become president against H.W. Okay, so then Reagan later signed the 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act. The law provided legalization to over 2 million undocumented immigrants who have been working in the United States, increased the legal culpability for employers who hired undocumented people, and provided funding for more border patrol agents.
Okay, nothing.
Although Reagan did not build fences, his administration did maintain the ones that existed, and he provided funds to increase border surveillance, as did George H.W. Bush.
Okay. And nothing wrong at all with any of those policies, you know.
Right.
Okay.
And he actually had a policy to basically go after employers who were not following the rules.
I wonder what happened to that.
Right? Especially when it's under Reagan, right?
Right.
So then says in the 1990s, intense xenophobia and public debate about unauthorized immigration escalated in the United States, prompting both parties to move toward physically securing the border. So that's when we get to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's policies would not just tear through Pat Nixon's park. Remember that cute park that she had?
Yep.
His policies effectively destroyed it. In 1993 and 94, Clinton launched 3 separate border operations. Operation Hold the Line in Texas, Operation Safeguard in Arizona, and Operation Gatekeeper in Southern California. So that must be the president, and here we go, yes. He used steel surplus military landing mats, which the Army Corps of Engineers welded together. So that's what you see there now. This was under Bill Clinton.
So Bill Clinton, a Democrat whose wife was Hillary, had about the strongest position about securing the border. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
According to this article.
I know. And I'm like, so it's like, how do so many of our friends on the other side of the aisle, like, how do so many of them hate the Clintons?
Well, it's because they murder people, I think. I don't know. I'm kidding. Everybody out there, I am kidding. I liked Bill Clinton.
Of course. Well, no, I'm glad you mentioned that, because actually that's kind of what did happen. Because it says, instead of stopping people from crossing, a more militarized border diverted them to dangerous landscapes, increasing migrant deaths exponentially.
Okay,
in the decade following Clinton's fences, deaths along the border doubled.
So Clinton did murder people unintentionally.
Right. His
policies.
Bigger, more beautiful border wall actually made it worse for people to cross.
Oh man. So, all right, this is interesting.
And then actually, so check this out. Now we move to George W. Bush. So, like his father, George W. Bush began his presidency hoping to build bridges with Mexico.
What?
Yeah. He wanted to. His idea was to revive and expand the guest worker program to allow Mexicans to work in the United States legally.
Okay.
Even after the terrorist attacks of 2001.
Even after.
But because of those attacks, because of the attacks,
So
Congress wanted to tighten border security, and they had to abandon George Bush's plan.
So after the biggest terrorist attack on American soil, George Bush Jr. wanted to invite more immigrants in at that point? Huh.
Yeah.
This is Twilight Zone shit you're talking about, Snow.
Right? I know. It's fucking crazy. But, I mean, I invite anyone who is listening and doesn't believe us, go ahead and look it up then. Go ahead and look it up. Look it up for yourselves. Please, please look it up for yourself. So, here we go. In 2006, 5 years after the terrorist attack, Bush signed the Secure Fence Act, authorizing 700 miles of double-layered reinforced fencing. When he left office, he had completed more than 500 miles. So, guess who continued the work?
That would be Obama.
President Barack Obama continued the work, building 130 more miles of fencing. He also famously funded the Border Patrol and deported more people than any president before him. Do you need me to repeat that?
Wait a minute.
Should I repeat that for everyone?
So okay. Yeah, say that part again.
President Barack Obama had famously funded the Border Patrol and deported more people than any president before him.
And
he deported more.
And remind me who was vice president under that administration?
Oh, that would be Joe Biden. We'll get to Joe Biden.
Okay.
We got a couple more presidents.
I don't know. None of this makes sense to me.
So then here we go. Although Donald Trump championed building his wall,
right, his
administration only built about 85 miles of new fences.
Well, I mean, if you're going to compare, getting stuff done, I mean, he did have Stormy Daniels on the stand today, so he falls a little short in some areas.
Well, I think it's probably too. No president. If Trump holds the record for president who golfed the most during his term, so he was busy out on the golf course. He didn't have time to really focus on this. It was just talking point. He's like, I don't care if it really gets done or not.
So
it's something for my morons to believe.
Okay, all right. So I guess we'll get to this point. So only 83 miles of wall? 85 miles of wall.
85 miles. And so now that leaves us at Biden, which Biden will now add 20 more miles because remember that happened not too long ago. He pretty much got forced into, he had to continue what was already put in there by the previous administration.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so there's only going to be 20 miles constructed during this presidential term.
Yeah, right now it says there are currently 700 miles of non-contiguous fences along the 1,951-mile border.
And
here we go. A Republican built most of those, but we cannot ignore that Democrats have also built and supported their fair share, showing bipartisan commitment to this symbol of control.
Right. So it's more than just an issue to run a campaign on. There's talking points on the campaign trail, and there's actually getting shit done and getting shit passed and actually following through. It's two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was remember that was back in like 2019 when Congress allocated the funds for the fencing.
Yeah. And
they could not repurpose it.
Yep.
I remember when this happened. I remember when they're like, look, he has to do it now, whether he wants to or not.
Well, and also there was all sorts of shit going on with contractors ripping the government off, and there was just a whole lot of wacky shit going on at the time with that.
Right.
And I think it was Steve Bannon was involved with, getting funding for a construction project that was false or something like that, that never really did anything to actually secure the border.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That was a lot of info.
Right?
You had a lot of time to do a lot of research.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's because I've been off,
Okay. What else? Got put to good use. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. Was that Nancy Reagan? No.
I can't remember who said that.
It was around that time, I think. It was around the whole the more you know things that would show up on NBC on Saturday mornings sometime around then, showing my age. All right, so where did you move on? Where are you now?
Okay, so now I'm in Wilcox.
Isn't that where Maynard from Tool has his winery, or his? Maybe not winery.
It's where he grows his grapes for his winery. Not that he's not putting in grapes up in like Cottonwood at his new restaurant. Like he has this new restaurant that's up on top of the hill in Cottonwood, and like there's grape vines planted all around the hill. It's a really cool restaurant. So if anyone listening is in the Cottonwood area, totally go to it. It's awesome. The food's good. But so the interesting fact about Wilcox is 70% of the grapes, or 70% of the wineries in Arizona's grapes are grown here in Wilcox.
Yeah, there's another one here in Kingman that they grow a lot of grapes out there somewhere by the airport.
Yeah, well, I mean, look. By that percentage, 30% of the other wineries in our state are going to be grown elsewhere. Kingman's got a portion.
I wonder how much water it takes to grow grapes. It seems like it'd be a lot.
That's what I was wondering. And as I was driving from Safford, because I went and visited a couple like small other towns today. I went through Safford. I had been to Safford before, but it was over like 20 years ago. So lots changed there. Their downtown area is really cute. They've like painted a lot of murals and everything. I went to Clifton, Morenci, Duncan, and then kind of made my loop back through Safford, and then back to Wilcox. And there was a huge billboard outside of Safford, in between Safford and Wilcox, that said stuff about saving rural Arizona's water rights, which I was like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Because everywhere I went to, especially when I was in Bisbee, I'm like, I was telling a lot of the locals that I was talking to and hanging out with, I'm like, I love to live in Bisbee. I would love to move here, but I'm concerned about the water. And I mean, I hate to say it, but everyone's attitude is a lot like what they tell us in Kingman, that like, nope, everything's good. Our water's secure. And I'm like, The thing about Bisbee is Bisbee does not have a lot of growth happening, though. They're not building a ton of new houses like they are. So I don't know. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe there is nothing wrong with their water. But like in Kingman, I'm sorry, I still really don't believe them with the amount of housing that's being built there. And then the fact that there's tons of farms around there. I mean, I don't know. Like maybe it's one of those things where maybe I need to go and actually visit our water locations and see for myself, like I'm doing like with the border towns, you know. Yeah. I'm getting to the point in life where I'm like, if I don't see it with my own two eyes, I really don't know that I can believe you guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Because there is a lot of false information that is out there. And there's a lot of stuff that the media and schools and things just don't tell us, like all this behind the scenes information about border security and which administrations had done what. It's just this political battle talking point between both sides. And nobody really takes the time to actually do the research on this. We'd just rather just fight that rather than come up with a solution.
Right. And it's also that they can confuse people and keep people fighting with each other so that the powerful who already have all the power can keep that power and not lose any of it. I mean, that's seriously, like, that's what I think it is. I'm like, I'm afraid of the people in power because, like, think about it. Once they obtained all this power, they're going to fight like hell to not lose any of it.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and if it means doing dirty shit, like, you know, lying to people and keeping people fighting over dumb fucking shit that doesn't even matter, you don't think they're not going to use that tactic? Of course they are.
Speaking of dumb fucking shit, and I'm going to go after our own side here on it. And you watched the roast of Tom Brady, right, the other night?
I did.
Oh my God. Being me, as you know, I was dying for 3 hours. I'm sure it was a lot more funnier to me than most people, being a diehard Patriot and especially Tom Brady fan. But I thought it was so fucking funny. As a non-Brady fan, what did you think of it?
Why wouldn't I think it's funny? They're roasting Tom Brady. As being somebody who is not like, I'm not a Tom Brady hater, but I am like not a fan of Tom Brady's either. Of course I'm going to want to watch him get his nuts on fire. You know?
Yeah. And here's my issue. And a lot of, not anybody that I know, but just reading articles like on Facebook, a lot of people were complaining about the jokes, and they must not get what a roast was. Were there a few jokes, like a couple of maybe the Aaron Hernandez jokes, that maybe stepped a little over the line? Were there a couple that made me go, ooh, ow? Yeah, but it's jokes. And
excuse me, wait, can somebody explain to me why those went over? Okay, Aaron Hernandez, like, I'm sorry. I mean, I know that I'm one of those people who believes that it's good to make jokes about things that make you feel uncomfortable. Like, okay, were they a little perhaps on the tasteless side? Yeah, but that's what a fucking roast is. A roast is you gotta hit motherfuckers hard. Yeah. That's when you bring out your best shit. Like, hit me with your best shot, you know? But Aaron Hernandez fucking murdered people, and then murdered himself in prison. I mean, what?
Yeah.
I don't understand why people are so, like, overly upset about that.
Well, his ex-girlfriend was particularly upset about it. But, and you can see why. You can see why she's upset. But at the same time, you gotta look at what the guy did.
Yeah, but she's still upset about the fact that they told the truth about him being bisexual. He was bisexual, and she's still upset and refuses to believe that he was. When it's like, no, dude, he was having sex with men too, which you need to accept that. I mean, I'm sorry, but.
Yeah. And people were getting upset about the way Giselle was treated on that. But my opinion is, I did a couple of those jokes made me go, ow. And I kind of felt bad for Tom. I felt more bad for Tom than Giselle there. But the people that are getting upset about these jokes, this is my point on it, there's a whole lot more things in life, in this world, the world's on fire right now, to be upset about than the roast of Tom Brady. We need to get our priorities straight. And this is one of the things I do agree with Bill Maher on, is this is what we're complaining about. This, you know what I mean?
Hey, look, I've said it before and I'll say it again since we're talking about it right now. Comedy is not meant for all people. Some people don't understand comedy, so I don't know, maybe you should just watch like videos or like, music videos or like TikTok. Maybe stick to that. I don't know.
And
you should stop watching comedy. Stop it.
And I don't know about you. I would have been really disappointed in Kevin Hart and all the rest, Nikki Glaser, if they did not make the Giselle and her jiu-jitsu teacher jokes. You knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
I got everything I wanted out of that. I was hoping there would be jokes about Giselle. I was hoping there would be jokes about Aaron Hernandez. I was hoping there would be jokes about Deflategate. I was hoping for all of that. And guess what? They fucking delivered on all of those things. And
another Patriots fan was like, oh, the only one I didn't like was the Gronk. And I'm like, no, the Gronk was the Gronk.
You know what was the most hilarious about the Gronk? Okay, so like, I felt bad for Gronk because I'm like, they would tell a Gronk joke and then they'd show his face. And I'm like, oh my God, he really is stupid. Like, he does not understand that joke that they just said about him.
Who was it? Was it Nikki Glaser or was it Kevin Hart that turned and goes to Edelman? Hey, do you want to explain that to him?
I can't remember. So many of them did. Didn't Tom Brady at one point say, Gronk, like, take it so slow, like, sound it out or something? Yeah. Like, I thought somebody said that to him. They're like, hey. And then Gronk made fun of himself for being stupid. Like, he knows he's not a genius.
Gronk was...
That's what I love about Gronk. He's not supposed to be a genius. He's supposed to be a big, huge, hunky guy.
Yeah. And even Belichick was hilarious, but he was hilarious in the most Belichick way ever. He was up there. He was awkward. He was uncomfortable, but he had some funny lines.
Dude, it was the first time I've seen Belichick smile.
Yeah.
You know, where he's actually, I was like, oh my God, he does have teeth. Okay. Like, I've never seen him show his fucking teeth before.
Yeah. The only awkward part to me was when him and Kraft did the shots and stuff like that. And that was the only time that Bill was just like, oh, shit, man.
I know. Yeah, the one part that did bug me, though, because I was like, no, fuck that, dude, this is a roast, was when Kevin Hart told a joke about the massage stuff, and Tom steps up there, and he's like, dude, you can't say that. And I'm like, fuck you,
no,
Tom,
that was
sit the fuck down.
That was Jeffrey Ross that did that. And Jeffrey Ross Jeffrey Ross told the joke. Jeffrey Ross came out and said, though, no, Brady just did that for the joke.
Okay. All right.
You know.
Then, okay. Then they did, Brady's a better fucking actor than I thought he was. Okay, good.
Yeah. And that was it. And everybody's just like, oh, Tom Brady got mad. No, Tom Brady was just kind of playing into it there.
No, I didn't think, when I saw that, I didn't think Tom Brady got mad. I thought he was like being like, whoa, like you can't do that. I didn't think he was getting mad. He was just kind of like warning, like, hey, you can't do any of the massage jokes. You know what I mean? He didn't do it like in a mean way, but Yeah, I totally thought, I didn't realize that was part of the joke, so good on them. But I was like, because I was like getting irritated. I'm like, no, fuck that, man. They could totally do that.
No,
this is a motherfucking roast.
This stuff, believe it or not, this stuff is mostly scripted, and the jokes are already written out. They know what's going to happen on it.
Yeah.
You saw the production they had on that.
I know. You know what I did I was a little bit, like I thought was a little bit messed up, but I mean, she did kind of brush it off pretty good. It was kind of rude for the audience to be so fucking hateful to Kim Kardashian. Yeah. Look, I'm not the biggest Kim Kardashian fan, but it's like, dude, she was there invited to come and tell jokes. And them sitting there booing before she even got a chance to say anything was a little fucked up. Yeah. I'm like, let her tell her jokes. I want to hear them. I want to hear them for good.
And she did okay, because I don't think if somebody was booing me like that, I'm like, I don't think I could try to be funny afterwards.
She did really good at just blowing it off and being like, okay, now can I talk? Okay, I get it. But yeah. But however, Tom Brady did better jokes back to her. Like that fucking one joke was fire, where he was like talking about she's worried that her kids are home with her ex-husband. I'm like, oh snap, that was a good one.
Tom had some good ones on it.
Yeah, my favorites though, like hands down, who I thought won, definitely Nikki Glaser and the podcast guy. The podcast guy was fucking cool.
Tom Hiddleston or something, not Hiddleston.
Yeah, the one that was like in the audience.
Hillman.
Like after he was done, he stayed on stage. But I was like, damn, those were some sick burns. Yeah. Him and Nikki Glaser. Glaser, like I've always thought she was funny, but I'm like, hot damn, she is like on fire, and she got like a standing ovation. Yeah. So did the other guy too. So the podcast dude.
Well, Tom just went after everybody right down the line. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, I was also impressed with Bert Kreischer. He looked like he was losing weight.
Who?
Bert Kreischer.
Oh, okay. He was funny when he was laugh snorting.
Yeah.
You know what I was going to say? Okay, about looks. Is it just me, or is Ben Affleck really starting to look more like Jerry Seinfeld? Did you pick up on that?
I did notice he looked a little off.
Yeah, I was like, dude, you don't look as good as you used to.
Well,
I'm like, why doesn't your wife help you out? Like, she looks amazing. She's like in her 50s, and she is fucking killing it.
Come on, I can answer that. J-Lo looks like she would suck the life out of you. I mean, she's just, I don't know how she's an easy person to put up with, you know.
I don't know, but she looks amazing for her age.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I'm not
whatever she's doing, Ben should also do. Yeah. Like, it's like, yeah, you need to, I'm telling you, he's looking... You know me, I think he's off my list now. I gotta say, you're off my list. I need to make room for somebody else.
Well, the list can change, you know.
I know, and the list has changed.
So when are you coming back?
I'm coming back soon. Well, I mean, I'm gonna be visiting in Tucson for a little bit because I'm gonna go visit my cousin and his wife and their kids. They're little guys. So I got to visit them, and then I'll be back for Pride, though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there.
Pride, we've got that about another week and a half away.
I gotta go talk to all my friends.
Yeah, and the organizers of Pride, I'll let you know a little secret. They told us.
Well, they're all my friends too. So that they're included in my friends.
They told us. We have free reign to do whatever we want to do that weekend. So,
well,
we will.
I don't think that you should have announced that on the podcast. People are now going to.
Well, that's called a tease. I'm building up the anticipation of we are going to make this the best podcast live that we have ever done before.
I hope you have good ideas, because you know me, I kind of just go along with the flow.
I know. I know, and I'll have more
I don't
time.
like all this pressure.
I
don't like this pressure, MJ.
and I have, since I just fired myself as an engineer, I have more time to be the producer now and write this shit.
Who's our engineer then?
I don't know.
You know, I can't do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to teach someone else how to do this.
Right.
All right, so we'll wrap this up. We gotta go. We ran a lot longer than what I thought we would on this one, but there was a lot. There was a lot of information that I just did not know about. So thank you for schooling me on the border.
Well, I didn't know about that until I decided to be like, let me find out a little bit about the border history, you know? And I had no idea.
So what you're saying is research is good.
Research is excellent. It teaches you things. You learn more when you do it. So everyone join in on the fun. And
like I said a little earlier, the more you know, and we'll talk to you next time.
The more you know, with the rainbow and the star. Remember, that used to be like a thing on like one of the networks.
NBC.
The more you know.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.